Now we have our handlebars internally wired. What I'm going to do is mount them up on these new risers that I just installed just for aesthetics. We're trying to make this front end kind of look like a night train. Now, for our specific application, we're not going to have to change any of the clutch cables, the throttle cables, brake line, but you'll want to make sure if you're putting up giant ape hangers, you're going to have to replace all those cables. It just so happens with this set, since we're changing them out, it just coincidentally works out. We won't have to change any of them. So from here, now that they're up, we can go ahead and install our top clamp. Now I'm not going to torque these yet. I'm going to wait till everything's assembled on the bike so I can get a proper feel of where I want the handlebars to be. But to torque them, what you'll want to do is torque the bottom two first, then tighten down and torque the top two. So I'm going to loosely mount these, and then we can go ahead and start putting everything back together. All right, those are mounted. I just installed our Deutsch connectors back in their proper places. I just went up to the coinciding plug and matched up the wiring colors. It worked out really well. Then, from here, I'm going to go ahead and drop our wiring back down behind the headlight, route them to the wiring harness again, and I'm going to plug them in and double check, make sure all the coinciding switches work and I'm not hitting the starter button, the horn turns on. I've done it before. It sounds stupid, but it can happen. And you want to catch that first before you end up routing all that wiring back into the frame or putting it underneath the gas tank for any other model. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, verify all of our switches are working correctly, and then we'll continue going on together with the handlebars. All right, I'm going to turn on my switch. Left turn signals are working, right are working, high beam, horn, and my starter button. Awesome. They all work correctly. Now, that's huge. That's great news. Now I'm going to go ahead and put together the rest of the handlebars. To install our left grip, what I'll do is use some grip glue or a contact adhesive, and I'm just going to put a little bit on the inside and slide it on over. This is obviously not a stock Harley grip. It's already been replaced. But for stock grips, what I used to do when I was working for flat rate, trying to make every dollar count or as fast as I can go, I would just slice them off, especially when I knew I was going to be putting custom grips on it. The stock rubber grips are real pliable. You can cut them off with a razor blade and replace them. They're pretty easy to do. Otherwise, what you'll need to do is start getting a small screwdriver and prying them inside, spraying lubricant in, and working them off. It's time consuming, but you can get them off without damaging them. With that in place, what I'll do is loosely put in our T25 bolts on the top and bottom. And on this model, you can see the grip has a little notch that goes inside the housing that fits perfectly. We'll loosely put that in place. Then what I'll do is go ahead and install our clutch perch, which I tied up in a rag here. So you'll see on the base of the clutch perch we have a little notch that coincides with the back. You can't mess it up. We'll sit that notch into the groove and reinstall our hardware. All right, that's all loosely in place. Then again, we can take our clutch lever we'll put this little ferrule in to attach the two, the clutch cable and the clutch lever, and then reinstall them. Like so, and then reinstall our pin. Just like that. And lastly, we'll reinstall our circlip that holds the pin in place. If your circlip was stretched too far once you were removing it, you'll want to replace these. You just want to double check and make sure it's still elastic and in good shape. All right, that one's locked in place. Now what I'll do is readjust my clutch cable and go and start on the right-hand side.